Hi everyone, and welcome to our homework review video for GL assessment. Hopefully you're in year 5 if you're watching this video. This is still obviously block 5, and I'm going to be focusing on the homework from week 2, but it is lesson 3 that we will be referring to. So we'll be looking down through all the week 2's tasks in your homework overview, but we'll be focusing on the English, which was lesson 3. You won't be able to see me in this lesson. I will be in the I will obviously be in the video in terms of you'll be able to hear me, just won't be able to see a picture of me in the bottom right hand corner as you usually do. It'll be Billy down there, so you can really focus on what's on the screen rather than having to look and see me in the corner. Okay, so let's make a start. So as you can see, there's Billy the bookworm in the bottom right hand corner, and just a reminder, we're going to be looking at GL assessment. I'm going to focus on lesson 3 content, which was the English. So what you're going to need, we're going to need to make sure you've got this book out. This is where most of the homework tasks were set for English. What we would say is we're just focusing on the you must task. So if I just point out where I am, so we're week 2. This was lesson 3. We're going to be focusing on pages 12 and 13 in your English book. We're also going to focus on pages 14 to 19. So we're going to be looking at the mixed punctuation and also looking at section 3 as well. There was quite a lot of homework, so you can work down through. Of course, with these videos you can pause them at any time, and if it helps, do that on the screen just while you double check in case I go a little bit too quickly. So hopefully these homework videos are very useful to just go through. I will pick out any more challenging questions and talk you through each task as we go along. While we are talking about homework, I hope you are learning your spellings. When we actually return, we will be in week 3, and we will be testing you on test 2's synonyms. So do make sure you learn those synonyms there. Right, so just make sure you've got this book out and ready. Okay, you've got the right book, and we are going to be looking at mixed punctuation questions to start with, and that's on page 12. Page 12. So I'll just type that up here just so that you know what page we should be on. You should be on page 12. Now, mixed punctuation questions does indicate that, of course, we are going to be looking at lots of different punctuation marks. And in each of these sentences, there contains one punctuation error. Underline the word with the mistake and write the correct version on the line. For example, the clown didn't really like children. Well, that, of course, is a contraction, and it should say did not, but they've missed out the apostrophe. So let's just quickly go down through and see what you've got. So you can be marking these as you go down through. So number 1, it's should be it's, and it shows possession. So it shouldn't be it is. Okay. Number 2, we should have had a capital S, of course, for Spain. Then we should have had a small the in the middle of the sentence there. Shouldn't have been a capital T. So hopefully you spotted that one. Number 4, once, don't need an apostrophe there. Okay, it isn't a shortened version of the word, so hopefully you got that one right. Number 5, men's should be men's with an apostrophe. Okay, the noun is already plural, so the S at the end shows that a possessive apostrophe is needed. So the men's shoes. Okay, so that's where that mistake was. Number 6, balding men often choose to shave their heads. So, of course, men doesn't need a capital M there. Okay, so I hope you spotted that one because it's not a proper noun. Number 7, we've got couldn't, and unfortunately they put the apostrophe in the wrong place there. Okay, and it needs to have the letter O omitted, so it should say could not, but they've obviously got it in the wrong place. Number 8, we don't need a capital E after the colon, so it will be there. Okay, so sorry, I should be actually underlining as you go down through where these errors actually are. So that's the other thing that they asked us to do, wasn't it, at the top. So yeah, shouldn't have a capital E after the colon. And the last thing here, it's Yusef's birthday party, so it belongs to Yusef. So we need a possessive apostrophe before the birthday party belongs to Yusef. So it's really important that we put in the apostrophe there. So there it shows there. So if you put down out of 9 how many you got right in that first task, well done if you managed to get all of those correct. Okay, let's move on to the next part of page 12. And with this, what we've got to do in each of these sentences is missing one punctuation mark. You have to add the punctuation mark to each of these sentences. So we need to have our speech marks or inverted commas added in on that first one after the exclamation mark. So that's where they need to go there. So if you've got that one right, give it a tick. We're missing the question mark on this sentence. Have those bikes been abandoned? It's asking a question. Ask the policeman. So make sure you've got the question mark in there. Number 12, we've got a bit of parenthesis. We learnt about that during our lesson. And if we split this information out, which was nearly setting, so we could say the sun shone in the driver's eyes. This is additional information, so that's why we need a comma between setting and shone. Number 13, we've got one set of brackets here, but we need another set of brackets here, so more parenthesis and some adults. So it's additional information. Skateboarding is something that children are good at, and some adults could be taken out and it would still make sense. But I think when you're certainly given one bracket, you've got to think, well, where would that other one go? Number 14, we've got a comma that goes before the professor instructed. So we do need to make sure that that goes before the inverted commas. Okay. So inside. Well done if you got that bit of punctuation right. Now, number 15, we actually need to introduce a colon because it introduces an explanation. So Mario smiled with satisfaction. The room was spotlessly clean. This is a start of a list. You need 3 items of stationery, and then you need to put a colon, a pen, a pencil case, and a notepad. So again, you can see when it starts a list, we need to use that colon. Number 17, we've got an additional piece of information here. So we've got the latest fashions in a variety of styles and sizes. We've got the comma there, are on sale now. So the 2 commas, this is the one we needed to add in. But again, this is additional information, this line here. So we could remove it and it would still make sense. The latest fashions are on sale now. Obviously building up your knowledge of parenthesis. And the last one, number 18, there should be an apostrophe at the end of the word lorries because the noun is plural and the apostrophe shows possession. So that's why it goes after the S. Wonder how you managed to get on with that particular task. So out of 9. So what you can do, you have got some smiley faces down here. So depending on how you felt it went, if it went really well, you could sort of tick that one with the wink, I suppose. If you thought, sort of in the middle, then tick that one. If it didn't go quite so well, you can tick this one. But don't worry, just go back and have a little look and see where those errors were put. Okay, right. Now, this is a real punctuation fest here because what you've got to do is you've actually got to put in all of the pieces of punctuation in those particular sentences or that little small paragraph there. There is no punctuation at all. Now, there are actually 10 pieces of punctuation that you needed to have spotted here. So what I'm going to do in the sentences that you've got, I'm actually just going to underline those 10 bits of punctuation. So we needed the B here for Buster, comma here. I've got a bit of parenthesis, comma here, although he was angry. Then if we go down, we've got another comma here. And then we've got a full stop here. Then we've got inverted commas, capital letter, comma, inverted commas, and then we've got a full stop. So if we just count these up, 1, 2, 3, I think we're counting that as 1, I think, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, or maybe it's counting those as 2. So we just double check again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Yes, there we go. Managed to get 10. So if you just write in there, if you spotted all 10 pieces of punctuation. Okay. Same again. We're going to have a little look down through here. We should have 10 if we've got them all correct. So this bit of text at the top here, no punctuation at all. So capital B for buttons, then we need a comma, then Joe Greco needs the comma there, another comma, it's already got 5 pieces there, full stop, 6, capital letter, 7, 8, 9 for the capital there. Now we need an exclamation mark there for 10. What a success. So again, hopefully you managed to get all 10 of those. And the last one, same again, got to find 10 hopefully here. So M for my, Carnwick Village Hall, that's going to need free because that's all going to need capitalising. There is, so the apostrophe was missing there, but we also needed a capital letter there. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Now we can have either an exclamation mark or a full stop, it doesn't matter. So I think I might have got them all there. Just going to double check because it may well be that I've missed one out, but I think we've got them all there, haven't we? Yes, so just count. I don't seem to have 10, but 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Just looking back at where I might have missed one. I think I've got them all. Maybe there was only 9 in that one. If I have missed any, I can easily go back and double check. But if you've got 10, brilliant. You can refer, of course, into the back if you've not got all of them. Okay. Right, let's move on to the next bit. The next bit is pluralizing. So we're going to be pluralizing words. There's a word in brackets and we've got to work out what the plural of that word is. So here we've got volcano and it becomes volcanoes. So we had an ES. Now there are some rules with kind of pluralizing. Certainly words that end with F, we remove the F and then we add VES. Unfortunately with the English language this isn't always the case. So got to be a little bit careful if that isn't going to be the rule. So go down through, double check each of the individual pluralizing. What I'd also say is certainly with irregular plurals, and that's one of the tasks that we're going to be looking at next, they are just a case of learning them. So there is no sort of right or wrong rule, you've just got to make sure that you do learn them. So just going down through, we'll just check each of them in turn. So volcanoes, some words ending in O add ES to make them plural. Say some, you've just got to be careful. Wolf becomes wolves, often words ending in F lose the final F and add VES. Chiefs, now this is different to most words that end in F because only an S is added to make it plural. So again, these are ones you've just got to learn. Library becomes libraries when the letter before the Y is a consonant. So in this case, it's of course an R. Then we would add IES. Okay, so if I can think of another example, if I had the word, for example, cities. Oh, the word cities, if I just type that again. Then we've got, if you think about the word city, we've got a consonant before the Y. So we've got a consonant before the Y, then we remove the Y, and then we're going to add the IES to make it pluralized. Okay, so that's generally the rule. Pianos, we just add an S on pianos to make it plural. Tomatoes, because it ends in an O here, we're going to add ES. Okay. Thieves, well, we have thief, so we take the F away and we add VES. Elves, we take the F away and we add VES, so we lose the F at the end and add the VES to make it plural. And then roof becomes roofs. This is different to most words ending in F because only an S is added to make it plural. And again, fortunately with a lot of these, it is a case of just learning the rules. Sometimes if the rule doesn't work, it's just a case of learning those words. Okay, now these are more irregular plurals. So we stopped at several tropical oases. Okay, so it's a completely different spelling to oasis, and it is one that you would need to learn. Number 11, we've got fungus becomes fungi or funguses. You could just add an ES onto the end of fungus. Either of them would work. Okay. Number 12, we've got these. That's the plural of this. Then we've got dice. It's the plural of die. Deer just remains the same, a bit like sheep. You wouldn't put an S or anything on the end, just stays the same. Woman and women, that's pluralized. Crisis and crises, okay, different spelling there. This is an irregular plural, obviously. Then we've got those, because we've got that. So hand over those custard pies at once, my mum said angrily. And then the last one, we've got moose, and that does not change. This is an irregular plural. So out of 10, out of 9 rather, write your score in there, just to keep a track of what you're doing. Right, we've gotten to homophones now. So if you can make sure you're on page 15, we're marking the homophones. So what we've got a choice in brackets, and we've got to choose the correct homophone that makes the sentence make sense. The first one, of course, is heard, as in herd of cows, not I heard someone coming. Then we've got weather, and the weather is whether or not, rather than the weather as in the climate. Okay, so we just need to make sure we choose the right weather there. Then we've got cereal. That's the cereal you eat, not the cereal as in a part of a series. Muscles. So Rebecca flexed the strong muscles in her arms, not the muscles that you would find in seafood, or part of seafood. Number 5, we've got sauce, a liquid you pour over food, whereas the other source means a place where something comes from, the source of it, or the source of a river like the beginning. Past is the next one. And it's a preposition showing where the truck drove, whereas past is a verb meaning to move in relation to other things. So this past is the correct one for number 6. And then we've got vain, as in weather vane, not to be vain as in have a high opinion of yourself, which of course is this one. So just make sure you've chosen the right vein there. And then we've got soul, as in the soul and the bottom of your shoe, rather than a sort of a spiritual reference. And then the last one is reigned, as in the queen reigned. This reigned is in like reined in a horse. Reins are something that maybe a horse would have if you were steering. So out of 9, put your mark down there. Well done if you are getting lots of ticks. Now this time again we've got a choice and we need to choose the right one. So on the first one we've got there. This makes sense because it refers to a particular place rather than they are, which is the shortened version, this contraction here. And then you've got there as in possessive. 2 as in too much, not the number 2, and then not to show a direction. Then we've got buy, and the right buy here is to purchase, whereas buy is a preposition used to identify who or what is doing something, and then buy obviously short for goodbye. Number 13, we've got where. That makes sense here because that refers to a location, whereas where means to put something on your body. And the other where is a word for a type of pottery. So it's got to be that where. Number 14 is right. Now, right makes sense here. It's correct because if you think of right meaning a religious act, and then right means to put letters on paper. So hopefully you went for the right one there. This is to be in ore. The other ore is a mineral or an ore that you might paddle with. So hopefully you went with AWE. Then we've got pause. This is to take a break, not pause out liquid or pause on an animal. Then we've got buy as in purchase. We talked about buy previously, didn't we, up here in question 12, and buy as in goodbye, and then buy the preposition, so we had to go with the one about purchasing. And then the last one here, Vicky has given a lot of praise for her volunteer work. Praise, this praise is like praise to God, and then the other praise means to attack something, okay, praise on something. So, hopefully you got all of those right. Well done if you did. And let's move on now to prefixes and suffixes. Now, we actually have a choice up here of prefixes. So, prefixes are things that go in front of the words. And what we've got to do is we've got to add in, just going to get another pen here, and we have got to add in the right one. So, on the first one, I thought she was a coward, but I was mistaken. So, it's M-I-S in that particular gap. Just try and make my pen a little bit thinner so it's easier for you to see. Number 2, we've got the detective was uncertain that the suspect was guilty. Number 3, we've got inedible. Inedible means it can't be eaten. So Mum's carrot cake was simply inedible. In other words, it was inedible. It wasn't, you weren't able to eat it. And then we've got retrace. Just read the sentence. Go back the way you came to retrace your steps. Number 5, we've got dis. So again, it's worth checking at the top as you select the right one that it obviously makes sense. But with something like dis, and we've talked about this before, it changes it into a negative. So if you're honest and then you put dishonest, it changes it to a negative. Number 6, we've got reviews. So reviews of the new film. Then we've got incapable. Then we've got disagreement. So again, turns it into a negative rather than agreement. You've got a disagreement. Preheat. Okay, so that's the end of those. So again, it was useful to have that up there and obviously checking to make sure it makes sense. Okay. And again, got a lovely little hint here. Remember that pre means before and re means again. So retrace, doing something again. Reviews is what we're doing today. We're doing a homework review. We're going back over things again. So it's very important that you learn what these prefixes mean to help you then put in front of words and also help you with your spelling. So I like that tip there. I think that's a lovely little hint. Okay, let's have a look at the next one. So what we've got to do here is we've got to adding a suffix to the word in brackets. So for example, thought, we had to have thoughtful. So that was such a thoughtful present. So if you just go down through, you can see what's been added. So we've got musician here, tidiness, childhood, argument, education from educate, hopeful, you only had one L there, just be careful on that one, imaginary, make sure it's ARY at the end, valuable from value, and then courageous. So again, might be an opportunity to just pause the video here. Obviously the sentence will guide you as well, so don't forget to read the sentence thoroughly when you're going down through. Okay, just to double check. It's always a good way of double checking, just reading the sentence, making sure it all makes sense. It's just not missing any part. Don't be lazy with your work. Don't think, oh yeah, I think that's probably right. But double checking is always worth doing. And that will make sure that you get really, really good marks. Sort of 9 out of 10s. Right, what we've got here is what was described as awkward spellings. Now, you may have learnt before that when you say the rule I before E except after C, but only when it rhymes with B. So it is important that you can apply that golden rule. So what I've done is I've added in the E or the I and the E to make these words all spelt correctly. Apologies for the line there. I think it's just a pencil mark when it was scanned. But could I ask you to go down through and check that you've got these right? Okay, so remember that rule, I before E except after C, but only when it rhymes with B. And you can just go down and make sure you've got them correct. It's so easy to get them the wrong way round. What I might suggest is lots of space over here, for example, in your book. You might even try and write some of them down just to see what looks right. I often think when you look at a word, if it doesn't look right, then you obviously know that you've gone wrong. Okay? But yeah, hopefully you've done well there. Tricky little task, that one. Next one, we've got to add in, so complete these words with the correct pair of consonants, so consonants not vowels, so that the sentence makes sense. For example, the cliff by the sea looked very difficult to climb. Hint, each letter pair is either a pair of double letters or has one silent letter. So what are we looking at? So the first one is thumb and scissors. Then we've got chopped and knife. Fluffy and dripping. You do need to read the sentence, because if you didn't read the sentence you'll find it more difficult. Knitting and little. Accommodation, that's a really tricky word, double M there. Sign, right, and swimming, so you need the WR and then the MM. DD for puddle and knees. PP for floppy. BB for nibbled. KN for night, and SW for sword. So well done if you got all of those right, but the sentence is really crucial there. Make sure you read the sentence through thoroughly. And we're getting towards the end now. We've now got our mixed spellings, and what this was about was looking at the sentence and identifying which words were spelt incorrectly. Now this is really such an important skill that you can look through and you can see which words are spelt incorrectly. There are a few little things to think about. So if I think about, for example, the word embarrassed, I always remember that the two R's are embarrassed by the two S's. That's how I remember that. So sometimes it is coming up with little mnemonics or little things that really help you remember how to spell these words. I often, again, as I said previously, when you look at some of these, they don't look right. Sometimes the word might be spelt correctly, but it might be a homophone, for example. And this one here, fourth, as in go forth, well, it wasn't talking about that. It was talking about fourth as in the number, okay, the fourth person. So it was the fourth time this week that James had missed the deadline. So just be careful that you're looking really carefully at that sentence, reading it through, particularly if they are homophones. So what I'd suggest you do now is you go down through and you check them. Okay, see how many out of 6 you manage there. And do write the correct spelling on the line as the little hint suggests down the bottom there. Okay, we're going to move down now to the next slide. So we're very nearly there now. So we've got a few more that we needed to have spotted here. Okay. So disguise, convince, stomach, immediate, deafened, and hesitantly. So hopefully you managed to get those. Okay, it's always a good idea just to underline where it's come from. So when you were looking along the sentence, and this is what you'd have to do in the exam, is spot the spelling mistakes. You can just go through, see where those spelling mistakes actually were. Brilliant. Let's have a look at the last one. So we've got private, ATE, selection. Oh yeah, missed out the T there, didn't they? Okay, and got an extra C. Desperate, oh, that's a tricky word. Make sure you look very carefully. Look, we need an E there, rather than A. It's a bit different than, say, something like separate. Receipt, I before E, except after C. Ah, yeah, this is always, often some people get this wrong. This is dessert, so dessert with 2 S's, not desert. So a pudding dessert needs 2 S's. Guaranteed, oh yeah, often guaranteed is one that people get confused with. This one, missed the U out there. So, out of 6, how did you get on there? And lastly, we've got some mixed spellings again, but we're given the choice this time. So let's just quickly go down through these. Number 1, first practice, well, that's the verb when it's a noun with a C. So I need the verb here. So make sure you've chosen the right one. So that's the verb, that's the noun. Number 3, we've got effect. Well, that's the noun, whereas affect is the verb. So make sure you say, if you say numerous factors can affect global climate change, that's the verb and that's the noun. Number 5, we've got principal as in head teacher, and then principal as in morals. So again, I hope you were able to spot all of those. And a few more. Number 7, we've got fewer, because it makes sense as a plural noun there. Less, brought, and then we've got bought, and then we've got past. Past makes sense here because it means completed something successfully, whereas the other past is something that happened previously in the past. And 6 out of 6 there. And then we've got advice, and that's the noun. Advise is the verb. Accept means to take. Accept here makes, because it means not included. Okay. Devise is the verb, and then device is the noun. So it's good job that you know your difference between your verbs and your nouns in these particular ones. So that's the end of section 3, your spelling. So well done. Again, you could maybe write for this particular one, it's quite a long section, you could write out of 18 how many you managed to score, and even give the box a little tick as well. Guys, thank you very much for watching this video. I hope it helped. Just to go down through, it's a lot quicker, isn't it, just by having all the answers on the screen and going through. Thank you very much, and I look forward to seeing you in hopefully your next live session. Take care. Bye.